The first thing you realize when you find your way to the lobby of the brand spanking new Four Seasons on Almari Island, inferring that you have to take an elevator up to the first floor, like the non-telepaths we are, we had to ask the reception staff, eager to start your brunch at 12 sharp for the closed doors of crust. This Friday brunch eschews the norms and doesn't open for another half hour. Looking to establish itself among the entrenched elite of Abu Dhabi's brunch scene, the so-called Friday Best Brunch at the Four Seasons has to set itself apart. Like a new friend trying to win your affection, it has a few tricks up its sleeve. With the promise of tantalizing stations making their rounds through the brunch, we were justifiably excited. But once the doors are opened, you're immediately greeted by a brunch that, tastefully put, is quaint. With the brunch occupying about a third of the restaurant's space, the rest was filled with your average restaurant chairs. We'd initially reserved the table by the window, the one that is so prominently featured on the website. However, we quickly had to change tables once we discovered that it was right at the back of the restaurant and too close to the kids' area for our comfort. This was our first interaction with a very accommodating and very Italian restaurant manager, Andrea. He quickly reseated us to the front of the buffet and took us on a tour of the brunch's wares. With an amazingly well-stocked cheese selection, with a pairing of port no less, and a raw bar that took up about a fourth of the buffet's total space, we were eager to get sampling. However, Andrea assured us that the best was yet to come. Literally, the chefs would be coming around with carts offering morsels of items not available on the buffet. Talk about table service. We sat back down, had our complimentary glass of spritz, and awaited the onslaught of food. The first to arrive at the table, rather spectacularly, was a tray of caviar. Assured that this was indeed for every party at the brunch, we dug in, accompanied with a bowl of Italian-tasting chips, creme fraiche, and finely diced spring onions. The caviar was eaten more out of a duty to be cultured and not let it go to waste. Because let's be fair, who really enjoys caviar? However, the thought was nice. Next to arrive at the table was a trio of bruleed starters. A smoked tuna belly with mango salsa, a scallop in broth, and a potato stuffed with truffle. The tuna belly and scallop were superb. The potato was not worth the calories. With these starters not yet completely chewed came the next wooden serving trolley, bearing mini bowls of hamur in a green chili sauce and escargot in a tomato sauce. The best part of this pair was the green chili sauce, while the hamur seemed a touch overcooked, and I'm not huge on snails. Eager for a break from the entrees, the next port of call was the main station of the buffet, grabbing some of the roast turkey, prime rib, and a pepperoni pizza. The pizza was appropriately Italian, the prime rib appropriately medium rare and salty, but the turkey was disappointingly dry. In all honesty, this brunch could be served solely in these tableside stations and you'd be walking away happy. There is no physical or metaphysical way that any one human would be able to sample all of the table station courses alongside a meaningful amount of the rest of the buffet. This idea only proved itself more true when the next round of tasty morsels arrived at our table. First in line was a scrumptious spaghetti and dynamite chicken. Again, in keeping with the brunch's atmosphere, the pasta was cooked perfectly al dente. Next up in this all-star lineup of teeny temptations was a freshly prepared sushi with seared lamb. An interesting combination and an interesting counter to the general Italianness, though possibly a touch dominated by the fresh wasabi. Last, but certainly not least, was the Parmesan risotto with mushrooms and a spinach drizzle. As I'm sure you're expecting me to say, the risotto was cooked to perfection and everything you're looking for in a hearty risotto. Not to mention, it was served in kitschy little Staub casserole dishes. Now, this doesn't even touch on the food that we turned down or the stations that didn't make it our way. Unfortunately, a steamer mussels passed us by. The desserts were appropriately sweet and delicious, but featured everything you'd normally find at a brunch of this level. If you head to the Four Seasons Friday brunch at Crust with an empty stomach and a mouth looking for adventure, you are sure to be satisfied in that department. Of course, what is a brunch at 12:30 on a Friday without copious amounts of alcohol? On this facet as well, the Four Seasons Friday brunch delivered. We sampled, or drank a bottle of each of their three wines, a Pinot Grigio, a Rosé, and a Cabernet. All were fantastic, with the Cabernet being a nice light start to the brunch with hints of cherry, and the Rosé a perfect counterbalance to the onslaught of food. Where the imbibing falls down, unfortunately, is with the roaming cocktail carts. The Caipirinha cart was one of the first to make the rounds, but was a tad sweet for my liking. Even more disappointing was the tardiness of the gin and tonic cart, which we were very much looking forward to and only appeared when we were starting our dessert. All things considered, the Friday brunch at Crust in the Four Seasons Abu Dhabi ticks all the boxes. The wide array of food and drink, alongside a novel service idea, are sure to make for some stiff competition against the established Abu Dhabi brunch elite. However, this brunch, for some reason, also seems to bring with it a large amount of families. Of course, if you are a family, this is fantastic news. If you are instead looking for a brunch free of children, look elsewhere. The novel concept of the brunch employees is also its biggest downfall. While having table service is nice and the food is undeniably fantastic, the haphazard order and the inability to really have any control detracts from the excitement. Overall, a great brunch I would recommend to friends, but with caveats. The Four Seasons Friday brunch at Crust in Abu Dhabi scores a comfortable 3.5 out of 5 stars. The total price for two, including alcohol and a tip, came to 900 dirhams.